This is higher homework, it's practice paper B and again the non-calculator paper. We're going to look at question 25. So find the values of x for which the function f of x, this here, is decreasing. So what I'm interested in is if I was to draw that curve that's here, which parts of it would be decreasing? So which parts would be going from left to right and they'd be on a downward slope. Okay, so that's really what I'm interested in identifying here. Right, so let's go ahead and start this question. So what I'll do first of all, I'll just write down the equation that I'm dealing with, or the function. So it's 5 plus 24x plus 3x squared minus 3x. Okay, so it's a bit backwards, this equation, but we can still work through in this form here. If you really want to, you can set the x cubed term first, but I'm just going to work through the way it is just now. First of all, I'm going to differentiate, okay? Because if I want to know what the slope is, I need to find out what the gradient is going to be. Right, so let's go ahead and do that. So that's going to give me 24, that's going to be plus 6x from here, from there, and that's going to give me minus 3x squared, okay, when I differentiate that one through there. So I'm wanting to know where the stationary points are. So for stationary points, I know that f dashed x is going to be equal to 0, okay? So and then what I'll do is I'll just set this part here equal to 0. Okay, there's my 0 there. I can see I can take a common factor out of this, so let's go ahead and do that. A common factor of 3 first of all. So that'll give me 8 plus 2x, and the 3 coming out there will give me minus the x squared. From there what I could do is I can divide through by 3, and I'll get rid of that 3 there, because 0 divided by 3 is 0. So what I'll have on this line here, I'm just going to go straight and factorise this bit in the middle here. I'm going to sort that out. So I'm going to look at two numbers that multiply together to get 8. So I'm going to go for the 4 and the 2. And what I'm looking for is x and x to make x squared. One of them's a minus, okay? So let's go for it. One of them's a plus. This one here is a plus, so that the biggest one that multiplies out is going to be the plus. So the 4 times this x over here is going to be the plus. That one will be the minus. I can check it by FOIL to make sure it all works out. Yep, it does. So that's me factorised that correctly. I'll then work out what the points are from here, the x coordinates. So just take the x over to the other side. So from there I can see that x equals 4. This side here I've got 2 plus x equals 0, so x is equal to minus 2. So they're the two values that I've got out here for x. Right, so remember I'm interested in the gradient, and remember f dash x is equal to the gradient, so what I'll do is I'll create a nature table. Okay, so here's my nature table here, and what I'm going to go for is I'm going to go for some x coordinates along the top here. What I'll go for here is f dash x. I'll make sure I can show that that's what I'm actually working out, and I can use either that equation, you know, the one that's here, I can use that one, or I can use that one. I'm going to use this one down at the bottom here. So that's 4 minus x and 2 plus x. Just remember, I'm really interested in whether it's positive or negative in the gradient. There's my first point that's going to be a stationary point, so it's minus 2. I've got another point here that's the 4, and then I'll just consider what happens when we go beyond that. So a point leading up to the minus 2, let's just go for minus 3. I'll go for a point in between minus 2 and 4, let's go for 1, that'd be an easy one to substitute in. And a point that's leading away, an x value, let's go for 5, I'll go for that. So all I'm going to do is with these numbers here, I'm going to substitute them in there, okay? So I already know that minus 2 is going to be 0 because that's what I started with. If I put minus 2 into here anyway, that part's going to work out to be 0. So 0 times anything in that bracket is going to be 0. So remember, these are the stationary points that we've got. If I substitute minus 3 into here, so what that will give me in the first bracket will give me 7. And in the second bracket it will give me minus 1. So multiplying them together, I've got a minus. So that's minus 7 that's going to be there. In here, if I substitute a 1 into the first bracket, I should get 3. Substitute a 1 in there, I get another 3. So that's going to give me a positive 9 that's going to come from there. Substituting the 5 in, first bracket will give me a -1, the second bracket will give me a 7, so that's going to be another minus, and that's going to be 7. So what I'm then interested in is the shape of the curve. So it's negative here, so it's going to go down the way. It's going to then hit the -2, and that's our stationary point for x. It's then going to have a positive gradient going up that way. When it hits the x equals 4, it's flat and back down the way there. So that there's the shape of the graph. So that there is going to be a minimum turning at the bottom. This one is a maximum turning at the top of the curve. Okay, so the question that I've been asked to solve here is to find the values of x for which the function is decreasing. So decreasing is going from left to right in a downward motion. So what I can say here is the values for which x is decreasing. So the values are, and the first thing I'm going to look at is any point that's less than -2. So the first thing I'm going to be writing down there is x is less than -2. So that's the first thing. And then I'm going to look at another part where it's a negative gradient, which is this gradient that's here, and that's anything that's greater than 4. So x is then also going to be greater than 4. And that there is the question answered. I don't need to work out any y coordinates. I've not been asked for stationary points or the coordinates of points. This is what I've been asked for in this question here. Let's look at how we're going to mark it. I'm going to get 1 mark first of all for differentiating. Okay, I'll get 1 mark for stating that stationary points are equal to 0, and I must make sure that I can see a 0 in here somewhere. Okay, that's what I'm really interested in. I'll just go for 1 mark for getting the x equals 4 and the x equals -2. We've got 5 marks for this question. I'll go for 1 mark for setting up the nature table and calculating that correctly. And finally, just for making a statement regarding the final answer. So this question here, out of a total of 5 marks.